This is the greatest estate developer. Have you ever been a broke college student studying a hard major like civil engineering and had no friends or family? Well, this is the reality of Sho Kim, who's transferred in the novel Night of Blood and Iron and now possesses the body of Lloyd Frontier. And the thing is, Lloyd is the typical spoiled rich noble character and has a bad reputation. So our new Lloyd has to deal with the old Lloyd's problems. And this is where we meet our protagonist, Anjari Arshan, the Knight of the Estate. He explains what Lloyd did last night and he feels bad, but he writes he can't do 180 or because it would raise too many red flags. So when Lloyd's mom asks him to apologize to Barner, he begrudgingly says he'd do it. And he thought this was going to play the role of a terrible son just to find out greatly the surprise of his mom and Javier. Like, how bad does your reputation need to be? But anyways, on the way to the bar, everyone in the village is avoiding him like the plague. And he asks Javier why he's there, and he's realized, of course, to protect the village from him. And of course, the system is making fun of him. So Lloyd gives an apology to the Barner, but because of his reputation, he has to do it in a Lloyd way. Afterwards, he feels bad for the Barner, and Javier explains how much of a dick he is, and how the Barner's mothers will suffer. And this is where Lloyd gets the idea to build an Alden for them using knowledge from civil engineering he has back from the old world, making Lloyd Bob the Builder of isekais. But at the same time, his RP system has been activating, which allows him to earn RP by improving his relationships with key characters. He tries this out by complimenting Javier about his looks, but this doesn't work, causing his relation points with Javier to fall down even further. But it brings into question how bad your relationship needs to be for a compliment to decrease the score. But anyways, he goes back to the bar owner to set up a contract for Uno. But the owner is not budging because Lloyd is Lloyd, so that's pretty obvious. But using his own actions, he gets the contract. But what people don't get is that this one action with his own antics births a great face in the future we will see soon. Lloyd starts working on the Uno while Javier watches, and since Lloyd was struggling, Javier starts to help, which leads to them finishing the Uno on time, which makes the barn owner happy. And as Lloyd is trying to get contracts, his dad comes to figure out what his hoodlum son is doing. His father is curious why his son is doing all this construction and trying to figure out what he's up to, and Lloyd says he just wants to fulfill his orders that he gathered. This is where the father cuts to the chase by saying, I know you know we're in debt, but don't worry, I can figure this out. But because of Lloyd, who will show Kim has a past experience with his family, is in debt, and he won't stand by since he has the power to do something about it now. So after walking out, he runs into the moneylenders who are on their way to harass his dad about the late interest payments. But before the moneylenders can go any further, he threatens the moneylenders by saying, if you don't have a warrant, it is trespassing, and if you're not able to show it, then Javier cut them down where they stand. Then they run away like the bitches that they are. Of course, his father gives him some flack for making the problem worse. But Lloyd says we got this and gives his dad some money to stave off the debt collectors. Javier asks Lloyd how he knows so much about the law, but Lloyd replies, I just picked it up from somewhere, but I really he all knows this because he read the novel in which Javier cuts off the two heads of the longsharks who are digging up the body of Baron and Baroness while reciting this law. Also, since Lloyd has knowledge when it comes to architecture, he gains skills that is related to the RP system. And because of his recent performance with his dad, he gained enough to do one summon. So he's testing out the summon mechanic at night, and what happens, he gets a tiny hamster named Parang, and he spits a nut saying if you feed him a red seed, it makes him big for 12 hours, but if you give him a blue seed before the time is up, it shrinks him down to the original size, which makes him large enough to do construction, which makes a great tool for Lloyd. So the next morning, in trying to motivate his soldiers who don't really do anything, this is where we meet Newman comes in as the leader of the soldier. Also, this is the guy who betrays the barons in the novels. So he provokes the guy and he easily falls for it. And this leads into Lloyd challenging the angry Newman to a duel. And obviously Lloyd can't beat him in a duel, so he wants Javier to teach him, and he obviously opposes because his reputation. I mean, fair enough, I wouldn't trust Lloyd to have a clipboard at this point. However, this increases Javier's suspicion toward him. But Lloyd saw this coming and offered Javier a trade deal in which he can teach him sword fight, and I would cure your amnesia. But he's doubtful Lloyd can cure his amnesia because he tried everything he could except read a causal textbook. And of this completed deal, Javier agrees to train Lloyd. And as Lloyd is doing the training that Javier instructed, he mocks him by saying this is easy, but and honestly, he knows his heart, but compared to his past life, without any families, being alone, and living in a small boarding home, carrying bricks all day, and doing delivery, hoping for a better life, for one not to show up, this is honestly better. On the other hand, we have the Baron asking Newman to go easy on Lloyd since he is the heir to the estate, but knowing Newman, he's planning on killing Lloyd to make it look like an accident. And 1 month later, where the duel begins, and aside from the training Lloyd's been doing, he was teaching the Avert engineers about Onos and showing that he's not joking about this whatsoever. And when the fight begins, Lloyd easily deflects the swings of Newman to everyone's surprise. But to Lloyd, every Korean man knows the hand combat training, Benaya training. And of course, in Lloyd fashion, he does a bit of trolling when fighting. Also, the new skills he got from the system allows him to stand a chance against the knight. And of course, Newman is getting desperate, so he tries to use mana, but this fails because of the Austrian court technique he learned from Java here. And he wins against the bastard, but Lloyd, still being Lloyd, he proceeds to hit Newman with a shover at his father's dismay. As Lloyd's father snaps at him for his behavior, he reveals to his father that Newman has been betraying the Baron by corresponding with the scammers, which proves with letters that he had under the table of the duel. And of course, the Baron, being a nice man, he was able to take advantage of him, which is why Lloyd proposed to drop a mouse on his head. And if the mouse hurt Newman, he would be exiled, but if it doesn't hurt him, he'd be demoted to a soldier, but be forgiven. But the purpose of this was never forgiven, since that's not how Lloyd operates. He knows that most people won't learn from his mistakes, and just become more cunning in the future. This is why he drops prawn on his hand after feeding him the red seed, which flattens him like the bastard he is. With the situation pushed behind us, we see the construction going into the mountain proceeding well, but Java questions where Lloyd is gathering all this knowledge since he's been known for a bum for most of his life. And to be honest, this is a fair question that attacks towards someone who just drinks all day as their pastime. But Lloyd, knowing he's in a very precarious situation, he deflects the question by quickly changing topics and freeing himself from questioning, being able to take himself and Javier to confront the conman who stole the money from his father. When confronting the conman, and his dark mage bodyguard runs away, but Javier was waiting for them outside and easily scares off the dark mage. And before Javier goes ahead and cuts the legs off, Lloyd stops him and then makes him think Lloyd is showing mercy to another person. But as you can see in the next panel, of the conman tied up, in exchange for not turning him into the courts, he will give the money back that he already has and sign a contract that he'll be taking 80% of his salary as repayment from the conman that he's defrauded from the Baron. And of course, it will take up to 520 years to repay, meaning that Lloyd owns his life. A few days later, Lloyd is looking for more construction workers for his construction team, and he is surprised by the workers who shows up because of his reputation. Javier returns that his actions so the villagers see better in him. With the growing demand for his business, he needs coal mines, since adults need huge mountains of fuel. Javier mentions the reason why the mines have been untouched, since the bedrock in the mines were weak, but Lloyd has a way of solving this problem using the shield tunneling method. And before we leave, we see ants in a cave for some reason, and we see Lloyd planning for the construction. He is tired from all the work he's putting in, so he goes out on a leveling spree to gain some new skills, like intermediate surveying, which allows him to see 50 meters deep in. But another problem is that he needs a new method of getting the cave done fast, since humans are too slow and prongs too big for their caves. So he decides to do another summoning, which he gets a snake named Bengal, who turns out to be a big help. The next few weeks, the development in the mind is going well, since Bengal eats the dirt in front of her, then shoots it out into iron rods, which is sliced up using the strength of the walls in the mine. Lloyd and the crew almost hit where the coal is located, but as Lloyd is encouraging his men, he hears a strange sound in the direction of his mining, and seconds afterwards, ants begin to pop out attacking, and Lloyd and Javier are protecting everyone from the ants. And as Javier is buying time for Lloyd, as oxygen running out, he tells Javier to go in the nest with him, as he's looking for a methane gas pocket to blow up the huge colony, and they're able to blow up the colony even though they face the queen ant. But now they run into a problem where they're stuck in a cage with a limited amount of oxygen. Lloyd uses all the points and skills he has to make it out the cave, but even though he did everything he can, he still can't make it until Pong comes in the nick in time, giving Lloyd the oxygen he needs to get him and Jarvis out the cave. Hey, thanks for everyone coming by. I appreciate your time. I have big things in the future, but until next time.